So now we move on to the cold storage side of things. We're going to be installing one of my most favorite pieces of software at the moment. It is called Specter Desktop. Now, one of the cool things about Specter Desktop, it's a wallet that it caters for multi-sig, but it doesn't require any other back end. It just requires Bitcoin Core, and it directly talks to your Bitcoin Core node. So I think that this is a fantastic piece of software that integrates your hardware wallet with your Bitcoin Core and is a nice wallet for you to use. Now, we will be installing this as a web server, which also means that others on your network can access this service and use it for their hardware wallets as well. So what we'll do is we will start to build this out and connect it through to our Bitcoin Core instance. So let's get started with that. We'll go into the GitHub repository for Specter Desktop. So let's just go Google GitHub Specter Desktop. It's this one here. And this repository will give us some instructions. And so we will go through these. Now, we will need installing Specter from pip. That's exactly what we're going to do. So we will, for the Ubuntu guys, we will need to install these packages. So let's open up our terminal and paste that through like so, put in our password and get this installing. Now, the other thing that we will also need is Python pip. So let's install that, and we also need Bitcoin Core, which we've already downloaded and configured. Now we will go to and also download sudo apt install python 3-pip and get all of that as well. Okay, fantastic. Now to install install Specter, we just do pip3 and that there. So pip3 install. So we'll just install that. Okay, successfully installed, it says. So fantastic. And then the next thing is to run it. So let's run that. Okay, so it says here it's running on this website address here. So let's copy this link and we will go into it like so. Okay, fantastic. Now it has automatically detected our Bitcoin Core instance. So if we click on here, it will just automatically detect, and you can configure it if it hasn't detected. So you can see that this is where it's just got auto detect, but you can untick that and type in your username, password, and where exactly your instance of Bitcoin Core is. So that's really handy, and you can also test it as well. So it does a couple of tests, make sure that it's all okay. So and which it is. So that's really handy to see. It's all connected up and ready to go. Now, the other thing that you might want to do is make sure that this is connectable through to other computers. So if, for example, I minimize out of this virtual machine and I try and access it from the computer that I'm working on, my host computer, now you'll notice that, sorry, let me just go back to the virtual machine itself. My IP address here is 192.168.2.196. Okay, so this is where I need to connect through to. So let's copy that. And in my normal computer, so I'm just going to minimize the virtual machine and I'm just going to go into Firefox here. And if I type in that IP address and the port colon 25441, it will say that it's unable to connect. So what we need to do here is in our virtual machine, if we want this connectable through to other computers on our network, what we can do is just stop this server. So Control C there, and you can see that this will then disappear. Now, what we'll do is use that same command, but instead --host 0 Okay, and so now this is now running, instead of on localhost 127.0.0.1, it's now connectable through to other computers as well. So let's minimize this out and go back into here, and you will see that Bitcoin Core is now accessible through any IP address. So, sorry, now Specter Desktop is available through any IP address. So that's really, really handy as someone who is running a server. Now, just to configure this a little bit, let's configure it in our virtual machine. So here it will also be available. It's back up again. Now, what we can also use is the IP address itself, so 192.168.2.196, and it'll go to the same place. So that's really, really, that would be the bookmark for everyone on your network to go to this if they wanted to use a device or add a device. Now, what you can do is run or have different accounts with this. So if we go into the settings here and go into general, we're going to authentication. This is currently set as none. What we can do is have multiple users here. So there's obviously the admin, which is going to be our administrator account. So this will handle all the users. So you might want to put a strong password on this. I'm not going to at this point. I'm just going to put admin as the password, and then we can save this. But then, for example, you can create a new registration link. So say, for example, I wanted to give this to my father. So who is also on the same network as me. So I can generate new registration link, and it will be this link here. So we'll tell our the person in this particular instance, father, to go into this address here on his computer. So let's mimic that. So here I am on, say, for example, my father's computer, and we will go and we will paste that authentication code in, and it'll ask us to register the register to the Specter node. So we can have father as the username and father as the password, and we can register that. Now it'll ask us to log in. So father, and now he has his own account. And you can do this with your mum, you can do this with your brother, you can do this with multiple people. And so what you end up getting is a nice server for them to hook up their Bitcoin Core nodes to. Now that they have a way for them to connect their hardware wallets into this as well. And so they can then add devices and so on and so forth. So going back into our virtual machine here, we will also need to be able to connect devices through to here. So they might have various devices. You might have your own device as the administrator, but just to have a look at some of the settings that we've just done here, the authentication, we now have users as a father. We can put this as mother. We can put, we can continue to create new registration links and getting other people onboarded into our own Specter Desktop instance. So that's really, really, really good to see that you can scale this across your entire network. So that's a really, really neat feature here. Now, in terms of adding devices, what we can do is, say for example, we want to add the cold card, for instance. So you might want to, you can get that via USB, or you can get that via from your micro SD card. Now, when you get from USB, if you're on Linux, you will have to install a couple of things so that your hardware wallet is actually recognized. And to do that, I will also show you in just a second. In terms of, there's a lot of stuff to cover here, and it would be worthwhile to, I guess, read through some of the documents. In particular, I would strongly recommend that you read the FAQ. This has a lot of questions, a lot of things that go answered in this FAQ. It is fantastic. It is really, really detailed. And so I would strongly recommend that you go through some of these links and find out more to suit your situation here. In terms of actual, hardware wallets, let's see if I can get a Trezor going. Let's see what I've got here. Let's see if I can hook this in. Add new device, Trezor. What we'll do is we'll go input USB, and we will put the Satoshi Labs in there, Trezor, and then we will go into add device, Trezor, and we will get via USB. Let's see if it detects. All right, so it obviously hasn't detected. What we need to do is add a couple of installations onto our machine to get this thing to recognize our hardware devices. So the way that we can do that is if you type into their search functionality, it's udev. And it says here, this directory contains all the udev rules for the supported devices as retrieved from vendor websites and repositories. These are necessary for the devices to be reachable on Linux environments. So let's do that. Now, what we want to do is actually copy this these files into a directory, in particular this directory. The easiest way to do that is to just go to the GitHub repo. So just go into here and pull this down. So we'll just copy this, and we will open up a new terminal, and we'll go git clone that repo there. And we don't have git installed, so let's install that. Sudo apt install git. So let's try that again, git clone. And I'm just cloning this into my home directory. As sort of denounced by that. We will then go into our Specter Desktop folder that has just been created there, so you can see that. So we'll change directory Specter Desktop, and there is this udev file here. So what we'll do is we will copy this command in here, making sure that we're in our Specter Desktop folder. Okay, and we will copy this, and we will copy this, and we will copy this. Yep. And we will copy the last. Fantastic. Okay, so now when we go into Specter Desktop, and we will just go USB, make sure that, yep, we have the Trezor linked up there. So we'll just get via USB. And so now it will detect and ask you for your PIN. So I'm going to put my PIN in. Okay, so it has just extracted the public keys out of there, so that's really handy to see. So that's great. Now you can go add. We'll name the device, so we'll just call it Trezor, and we'll add device in. Now you can add in another device, or you can create the wallet itself. It's up to you how you want to do this. Let's just now add a new wallet, so single key wallet from the Trezor, and if so we might just call this Trezor wallet. Let's it might be, yeah, nested SegWit. Generally speaking, your Trezor addresses will start with 3. So yeah, we'll go into there, or we can go SegWit. It depends which one has your funds. Most likely for Trezors, it will have nested SegWit. And if you've got existing funds, you can scan for those as well. And so yeah, you can see which rescan type. It's just best to delete to use the default numbers. Yeah, so you can just sort of go from here and create wallet. Now, when you do rescan, I'll just show you what it will look like in your Bitcoin core. So if you go into tail.bitcoin-debug.log, you might be able, it will send a request through to your Bitcoin core, and hopefully it will start to scan. So when you hit create wallet, there it is there, and it's just skipping and creating things. So it's saying here it's now sort of created this Trezor wallet, and you can now do some. It's now rescanning your Bitcoin core node, and it is basically finding your UTXOs. So continue. And so now you have these receive addresses. You can now send from here, so on and so forth, and it even gives you the progress of how that blockchain rescan is going. So if it does find any transactions, it will load up here. So that's really, really impressive software here, to be honest. I really, really enjoy this. Now, the next one would be to add your ledger in, and then your cold card, and then you can do multi-sig with that. It kind of really is something that you can play around with and utilize. The other thing that you'll also notice is if you go back into, say, for example, your father's account, for instance, you will notice that you can log out here, but and this is not in the virtual machine anymore. So if I'm father, that device won't show up because it's in the admin account. So if I log out of here and I type in admin, I should expect to see the Trezor there and doing its rescan. So really what you're doing is you are hosting multiple people with multiple devices and all using this link here, and they can then utilize that. Now, if you are using a Bitcoin, I guess, a QR code scanning and using a webcam for importing and moving things around, then what you can do is enable HTTPS, which is a little bit, which allows you to, I guess, use your QR code and webcam. Now, at the moment, because this is just HTTP, it doesn't allow you to use webcams. So if you want to do that, you will need to do HTTPS. So let's go about doing HTTPS back into our Linux box here. Now, the way that you would want to do this is, we don't need that anymore, so we'll clear out of that. Now, to use HTTPS, what we need to do is create a key and a cert file. So what we'll do is we'll just type in create key.pem and cert.pem. And we will potentially go to this address here. And all we're going to do is copy this this command here, and we're going to put them into our Specter folder. So where your Specter is actually not this Specter Desktop. There's also a .specter file in there as well. We can put them in here. It really doesn't matter where you want to put them, but I just like keeping them in the .specter folder. And it's got all the wallets and the config files and the other usernames that are in here as well. So that's where all your Specter files are kept, in the .specter directory. As distinct from the Specter Desktop, which we only used just to get the UDEV rules and initialize that on Linux hardware. So now I'm going to create this this file here. So or these two files, it'll be a key.pem and a cert.pem. So we'll click that. Enter country name, 2-letter code. It really doesn't matter. You can just keep pressing enter, 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 enter. And so what that has done is now created two files, a key.pem and a cert.pem. Okay. Now, if we look at our instructions on the main Specter desktop, what we need to do is shut down our server and use this command instead. Now, we can also utilize Tor in here. I'll come to that in a second, but let's just get the HTTPS going for our server. So what we'll want to do is copy this, and this is our Specter wallet that is currently scanning. So we will stop that. And what we need to do is add host as well, but not only that, we need to add these flags in here as well. So let's add those flags in. But what we want to do is name them to kind of where it actually is stored. So what we want to do is home/katan/.specter, and this is also home/katan/.specter key.pem. Okay, so when we add these in, it says here running now on HTTPS, right? So now what that means is https://192.168.2.196:25441. It'll give you this potential risk. That's okay, not a problem. Just go into advanced and continue, accept the risk and continue. And so now you're in your wallet, but it is now using HTTPS. And what this means is now you can use your camera. So for example, if I had a device that had a camera in it, then I could, like for example, a Kobo, then you can use your webcam to scan the Kobo in to get QR codes imported in through to your Specter wallet. On a HTTP connection, the webcam would not work, whereas on a HTTPS connection, it would. So that can now happen as well. So that's really, really helpful and very, very handy to see. Now, what we need to do is start this thing. Well, now let's have a look at Tor as well. So if we wanted to broadcast this over Tor, how would we go about doing this? Because we have Tor, the hidden service also enabled, and the instructions have already been sort of carried out. You can find the instructions for Tor on here as well. They have really, really good documentation on this. So if you want to go through Tor, there is I guess a Tor doc. Maybe we go into the docs and we go into Tor MD. So here it will clarify certain things and what you need to put into your Tor RC file. We've already done that, so I'm expecting this potentially to work. And there it is there. So what that means is we can now enter our Specter Desktop through Tor from anywhere in the world. So if we copy this onion address, I can get out of my a virtual machine and into my desktop and use, if I had a Tor browser, I could, which I don't have installed, which is surprising, but I would navigate to that address and I'd be able to see my Specter Desktop. So I'm actually very, very surprised I don't have a Tor browser here. So let's fire up a Tor browser. And we can now just literally navigate over to that onion address that was provided to us from the virtual machine. go to advanced and accept the risk and continue. And we can see our Specter Desktop service. We can log in here, either using my account, the admin account, so admin, or if we were someone else wanting to use this, then they can do this as well. But you can log in. And hopefully you should see that Trezor that I have imported through and being scanned as well. So that's what I'm expecting to see. Wow. So we've logged in successfully. If we open up, we can still see that that Trezor is still scanning, and it's looking pretty good. So that is, yeah. And if we want images, I believe you can allow data access to get the images. And so then you'll get the QR code there as well. But if you don't need it, then there's no need for that either. But that is looking very, very promising in terms of the Specter Desktop service. And so you can now log in via Tor from anywhere in the world. So that's pretty cool. You can now go back into your virtual machine and stop that. So now what we need to do is, we need to set this up such that it starts on startup. I don't typically have Tor startup, but we do need a service file. Now, the service file that I would have a look at is loaded into here, into the GitHub repo, maybe in the docs section, and we look at daemon. And this would be where you would what you would utilize as your service file. So let's get that happening. So let's shut down this server by pressing Control C. So the next thing is to go into cd etc systemd system, and we are going to create a file called specterd.service. So sudo nano specterd.service. It's a blank file, and we are going to copy this whole thing in, and we will paste it in. Okay. Now the user will be Catan, which is the username of the actual computer that is running this node. So it's Catan in this instance, and we will execute usr bin python 3 cryptoadvanced.specter.server, but we'll also put in our flags that we had earlier. So what were they? Let's have a look. We can just copy these in through. So let's just copy this and paste that in. Okay. So that is how you would hopefully start this up on the boot of your machine. So let's give that a shot. So Control X, Y, enter, sudo systemctl enable specterd, sudo systemctl start specterd. Okay, sudo systemctl status specterd, and it looks like it has started Specter Desktop service. So let's have a look and see if we can access this. So we said 192.1. Yep, so there it is there. HTTPS, remember? And now we are in. So that is very, very handy. And we can log out of here now. And so if we go into our father's account, we can have a look and see that there's no devices. He hasn't added anything in yet. And we can go into our admin account and only see the Trezor that we have imported in, and it's still doing that blockchain rescan. So that is what's happening with our wallets, and I think that this is pretty much a good overview of how you can use Specter with not only your hardware wallets, but the hardware wallets that are of your family, and you can even broadcast it out on Tor so that other friends of family can access it. But if you do have a little bit of more experience, I'll stick around when we expose this node out to the world, to anyone. Then we do it securely to who we actually want. Using VPNs, in particular zero tier, then you can really start to move around the world and still have access to your own Specter desktop. So I think that that's going to be something that we will utilize a little bit later. Okay, so the other thing now that we probably want to do is just clean up a little bit here. We don't really need this anymore. Now, you can remove that by going rm rf Specter Desktop, and that's the end of it. What you don't want to delete though is your Specter Desktop, or sorry, your .specter folder. That contains pretty much everything that you need. But yeah, you can remove that out and have the original folders in there now. Now, to upgrade your Specter service, all you really need to do is stop your daemon. So sudo systemctl stop specterd.service, and you'll go into the GitHub repo of Specter Desktop, and it'll give you a command there to upgrade, which is up here. So you'll copy that and paste that through, and sudo systemctl start specterd, and that should then get you back into where you want to be, and you can get him back into your admin, and yeah, you can continue scanning your wallets and adding things in and creating new devices and so forth. For now, that will get you going. You can also import in your ledger, you can import in your cold card, you can create multi-sigs with Kobos and all of your devices that you can look at. I would strongly recommend that you, one, join the Telegram channel for Specter Desktop, two, have a read of the documentation in the GitHub repository. They have a lot of documentation here that you should go through. And number three, donate to this project. It is fantastic. One of the most amazing pieces of software that connect directly through Bitcoin Core and allow you to use your hardware wallet in a nice interface. I think they've done an incredible job here. So I think if you can utilize this and use it to your advantage, I think you're going to have a very good time with your Bitcoin onboarding with other people, but also onboarding your own hardware wallets, as well as then going on to multi-sig. So keep that in mind. I think, yeah, I've done a fair bit of a deep dive into all the features that you would probably want, but there's more here. There is seriously more here, but that's the basic gist of what's going on. Thanks for watching, and if you would like to support the work that I am doing, head on over to our website at ministryofnodes.com.au and click on the support button. We also have paid video tutorials, so feel free to check out our store for that. On our web store, you can find a booklet that contains the commands to the entire series, so feel free to check that out as well. And finally, we also offer private consulting sessions where we can discuss Bitcoin related matters. Feel free to book in a session on our calendar. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.